Doesn't he have it? That's the question that millions of Americans are asking about Michael Jackson, the king of pop. It is called vitiligo. It's a skin disease that affects only about 1 or 2% of the entire population, black and white. And according to Mr. Jackson, that's the reason he now appears so pale. You'll be meeting some people later in the program who actually suffer from this debilitating and demoralizing disease, and you'll see how they work hard to conceal or at least to deal with it. But first, on our studio stage, I'd like you to meet Randy Taraborelli. Randy has followed Michael Jackson most of his life. He's written this controversial book on your monitor there, the book Michael Jackson, The Magic and the Madness. Joining Randy is an old pal, Mike Walker. He is the editor of the National Enquirer, which I gather is no longer Michael Jackson's favorite publication. And Richard Johnson, a columnist for the New York Daily News. We're going to talk to these guys first about some of the many issues, controversial and otherwise, that were raised with Michael Jackson's historic interview with Oprah Winfrey, his first interview in 14 years. I guess the central point is the vitiligo, or the lack of it. Is he dyeing his skin, etc., and that whole thing. But we didn't come here to pick on Michael today. I actually felt sort of sorry for him. Randy, was that the intent of his appearance, do you think? I don't know if that was the intent, but it certainly was the effect that it had on a lot of people. A lot of people feel much more sympathetic to Michael Jackson now that he has done that interview, and sort of bared his soul in many ways to Oprah in front of a national audience. I've interviewed Michael myself, and I know that it's difficult to get Michael to talk at all, let alone to talk for 90 minutes. So in many ways, I thought it was pretty effective.
I think in terms of intent, you have to look at what's happened to his record sales.
What, Richard? Since
the interview, it's the album, which was lingering down, in the middle of the charts, has shot up to like number 12. And I think that if half the people who saw the show, who said that they were more inclined to buy the record, actually go out and buy it, it's going to be like number 1 soon.
Well, lest we feel too sorry for Michael. I mean, when I watched that interview, first of all, my wife almost threw me out of the room. She said, if you don't shut up, you're getting out of here. My wife loves Michael Jackson.
At the screen?
Well, I kept hearing him saying, oh, what, there's no hyperbaric chamber, Oprah. I was going crazy, knowing what I know. But when I went into the newsroom the next day, everybody was saying, oh, we got to do this. And I said, look at us. We're going to do exactly what he wants us to do. We're now going to do a great big issue about Michael Jackson. That's the genius of this man. I mean, look what's happened to his record sales since that interview and since all the press on him.
But on the other hand, is it possible, Michael, that you have given this man an unfair shake, that you've picked on Michael? You and me and the media.
I think when it comes to celebrities, I think we probably do pick on celebrities at one point or another. But, I mean, the big whopper, I mean, when Michael's nose would have started to grow where he'd need more surgery. I mean, he was sounding like Pinocchio when he started talking about how there was no hyperbaric chamber.
That's the chamber he allegedly slept in.
Yeah, the thing that he slept in. We've all seen the pictures. They went all over the world. Michael actually used it in a music video called Leave Me Alone, about the tabloids. Well, let me tell you about Leave Me Alone. We can take a joke, but Michael Jackson is the one who gave us the pictures of him in the hyperbaric chamber through his manager, Frank DeLeo, his manager at the time, and through his plastic surgeon, Dr. Steve Heflin, to the point that when we said, gee, they were Polaroids, and we said these aren't good enough to reproduce in the National Enquirer, they went back and reshot the photos. Michael not only did that, but he insisted that when we did the story, that we use the word bizarre in referring to him in the story.
What about the Elephant Man bones? Didn't you break that, Richard?
I broke that story, and it was amazing to me watching the show where he's claiming that this was a completely fabricated rumor. It might be fabricated, but he's the guy who fabricated it, because that came directly from his publicist.
Yeah, in 1986, you have to understand to put it into a time frame. In 1986, when these stories broke, Michael Jackson was very rarely written about in the tabloids, and it was an experiment. He gave his manager and his lawyer and plastic surgeon a copy of H.B. Barnum's biography and said, I want my life to be the greatest show on earth. And that's what they were doing at that time. They were fabricating these stories back then to give Michael the image that he wanted. He was trying to promote his Captain EO film that was breaking at that point for Disney, and he wanted a science fiction-like image, and that's what they were doing. But what happened after that was that people in his company began feeding stories to publications that weren't true, that Michael did not approve, and that's when there became a problem.
Michael Jackson could have, at any point, picked up a telephone and called us and said, I don't approve of these stories, stop them.
Yeah, that's true,
We
too.
thought they were coming from Michael. When somebody is empowered to speak for Michael...
And that's the thing. I think that people don't understand how these stories evolve. The tabloid reporters and newspaper writers, we don't sit in a room and fabricate stories about Michael Jackson. These stories have sources, and if the sources are Michael Jackson's managers or Michael Jackson's family members, then you're inclined to believe these people, especially if somebody like LaToya Jackson comes to you with a story. Now her credibility is a little shaky, but back then, 5 years ago, you would believe LaToya Jackson.
Actually, I want to bring, we have a little clip of LaToya. I don't want to show LaToya speaking yet about the alleged vitiligo, the skin disease, but this is the current issue, Mike?
Yes.
This is, well, I guess it's last week, but all right. Now, what Michael Jackson never told Oprah. Okay, this is kind of be like a kind of a lie detector test for the Michael Jackson epic interview. He had plastic surgery only 2 times on his nose. Mike Walker, is that true?
No. According to the head of plastic surgery at UCLA, Dr. Robert Kotler, I believe his name is, he counts at least 8. One source of mine said he heard from Steve Heflin that it was 15. It is obvious to anyone who was watching that show, even to my wife, that Michael saying he'd only had 2 little procedures was ridiculous. He's had many, many, many plastic surgery operations. By the way, the doctor at UCLA said the 8 that I'm counting do not count touch-ups.
So the story is now that his nose is so deteriorated, he's had so much surgery on it that he's had to have it rebuilt up because it was actually like falling apart and collapsing. And I believe that from looking at it. It doesn't look like it's holding up well.
Is Brooke Shields the love of his life, Randy?
Well, Michael, I believe, said on Oprah that the 2 of them were dating, and I think that by Michael's definition, dating is probably what they're doing, but Brooke Shields has since that time made it very clear to the media that their relationship is platonic.
Didn't you find it interesting, by the way, there's supposedly no preconditions, this was live television, and boom, there was the picture of Brooke Shields there, conveniently ready.
Well, I'll tell you this one thing.
Michael, are you suggesting?
Would I suggest that anyone on TV would set something up?
Never.
Heavens to Betsy, no.
Richard? I could say one thing. If he and Brooke Shields ever were lovers, that Michael Jackson certainly was not the first. Because I know the guy who actually
Brooke's no longer a virgin?
No.
That was Arsenio's first question on his first show.
So do I.
Brooke, what about this virgin thing? How's
I
that
wonder if
going?
it's the same guy.
Yacht? Okay, well, anyway.
Yacht, you said? What
What
about Tatum O'Neal?
Tatum O'Neal, when she was about 13 years old and very streetwise, I mean, she was a star already. She met Michael when he was about 19, and Michael couldn't even handle the sexuality of a little babe like this. I mean, she scared him to death. At one point, she actually tried to seduce Michael. She was parading around in bra and panties and so forth, and it was all kid stuff. She never did. I'll tell you an interesting thing, and I'd like to know what Randy thinks about this, or Richard. To the best of my knowledge, and I have asked, believe me, many times over the years, the question of what does Michael Jackson do and with whom does he do it? I have never found anyone who could say, even though, for instance, on his Japan tour, he had lots of little girls in his room, but I have never met anyone who has been able to say that, yes, Michael Jackson is anything other than a virgin, as his sister claims he is. And I wonder, if he weren't, wouldn't somebody have come forward by now?
You know, I interviewed 400 people for my book. And I have never found anybody who was, and these were people very close to Michael, and I've never found anybody who had ever heard of Michael having an intimate relationship with anybody else, let alone found somebody who actually had a relationship like that with Michael Jackson. So, at that point, yeah,
Well,
I agree.
you would think that between the 2 of you, you would have
found
heard.
somebody, yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
And not only that, but you have to know also the pressure in that the first woman who actually has sex with Michael Jackson, this is a man who will find her right here.
Well, now, wait a minute. I'm not, no, it's just a curiosity.
All right, so he's a virgin. All right, let the guy be a 31-year-old virgin.
I mean, basically, he prefers the company of people like Macaulay Culkin or Emmanuel, what was that, Lewis?
Lewis, you know, almost every day. Remember we saw those kind of eerie pictures of that carnival out there in the distance when he and Oprah were walking? It looked like a horror show because there was nobody there. But actually, during the day, almost every day, Michael has children, either from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, from local schools, almost every single day.
Well, that's wonderful.
At that ranch.
And you do point out in this edition that he has given $50 million
$50 million
to
in
charity.
The things he
Now,
does...
that's putting his money where his mouth is. So I
the
think
things he does for
deserve
children are wonderful.
Very, very generous man. I want to get this out before we get to the vitiligo and whether or not he bleaches his skin, except he's a virgin. Okay, that's unusual, but it's not really hyper weird Does he, Randy, live a hyper-weird life?
You know, I have to tell you, I think that Michael Jackson is probably not as weird as we think he is, but he's a lot weirder than he thinks he is. And, but Michael is a very tough businessman. People don't know this about him. He's running a huge corporation. He runs it with an iron fist, actually. He's a very competitive person. He's normal in many ways. However, when he gets in front of a camera and tries to present himself to its public, he comes off as sort of being a Peter Pan guy. But nobody who is running a company and who's made as much money as Michael Jackson can be Peter Pan.
No,
so
he whipped, as you had in your book, he whipped Paul McCartney on that business deal. Bought the Beatles songs right out from under McCartney. McCartney hesitated, and Michael bought 251 Beatles songs. He owns them now. McCartney doesn't.
There's one other thing where he, telling the truth in that show, is when he claims that he never forced MTV to start calling him the king of pop. That is evidently a lie. I mean, supposedly he put great pressure. He said, if you want to show the video, I have to be promoted as king of pop. And he picked the name, and he made them use it.
And
my sources say the same thing.
And you know, my sources tell me that too. And I don't understand.
Wow, 3 for 3.
With Michael, it seems to me that he would be much more credible if he would just admit that, because that's just a smart move. It doesn't really say anything negative about him as much as it does say how he is as a businessman. There's nothing wrong with admitting something like that.
Let's get to the vitiligo. Richard, do you believe that Michael was telling the truth when he says that he is suffering from this rare skin disorder, and that's why his face is turning so white?
I think I'd be more inclined to believe it if LaToya said she had it too, because they look to be the same shade to me.
You'll hear it from LaToya, but I want to ask Randy now.
Well, I don't know. Anybody who knows Michael Jackson knows how sensitive and compassionate this guy is in many ways, and I can't imagine that he would come up with a skin disease as emotionally devastating as this one and use it to exploit it for his own purposes. So yes, I believe him.
Michael?
We believe that he does. The picture in the National Enquirer, that very revealing picture where you suddenly see his, you know, Michael is always concealing his arms and his hands, and that's why he started with the glove. That was the real reason, yes. And if you look at that picture, and you will see his hand is white, and then suddenly here abruptly it turns black. Now,
look at that. See, you didn't know the picture. You didn't know the picture was being taken.
That's right.
Had no gloves on.
Right.
No tape.
It was right. And so now, beyond that, since then, I have learned, I have been told by a source on the Oprah Winfrey Show that he at one point actually showed them. It didn't get on camera, of course. He was just showing them off camera. He rolled up his sleeve, and that the skin was mottled. There were blotches.
Michael, are the next guests nearby? Can you just ask them to come running right out before I take this commercial break? I would just want to remind people what, you know, Randy so accurately called an emotionally devastating disease vitiligo is and what it looks like. We have people in our audience who suffer from it. But here, is that Rochelle? All right, there's Rochelle, Nancy, and David. Now look at David's face. Now, David, did you ever think of using makeup to cover to make your skin kind of uniform?
Oh no, because I'm a man and I don't like wearing makeup.
You don't like? Do you believe
I don't
Michael
feel
Jackson,
comfortable.
David?
Huh?
You believe he's telling the truth?
According to his arm, it looks like it.
It does look like it, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
That's
Can
what
you
my
hold your
thought.
hands up? Just hold it by your face there. You can see that is amazing. Now, is that Rochelle?
Yes.
And you see, Rochelle has it, I guess, around your mouth area there, and that it starts there, the extremities, right? Eyes, mouth. That's where it starts. And your hands also. Can you hold those up? Thank you. And Nancy, let's just take a quick look at Nancy. There, she has it. Notice the kind of, I think they even call it owl look, and she has to. And when Michael Jackson was always wearing the sunglasses, was he hiding a Nancy-like?
And the surgical mask. You remember the surgical mask?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, that's when it first began.
Okay. What we're also going to do, aside from talking to Nancy, David, and Rochelle, is to demonstrate through an expert how makeup can be used to blend, as, you know, Michael Jackson never lets anyone see him without makeup, right?
It's true.
And how makeup can be used to give someone a uniform skin color one way or the other. The real Michael Jackson syndrome, the focus of this edition of For All That. Michael Jackson syndrome, our question. Good day, yes?
Yes, how come Michael took 14 years for this to come out?
You mean the vitiligo?
Yeah. How come he didn't tell us earlier?
That's a good question. I mean, first of all, it wasn't 14 years ago. I don't believe that he contracted it. I think
Yeah,
it was more like
1986.
right, and that's when he started wearing the mask, etc.
You know, and it's a tough
Yeah.
disease, and I think that you have to understand that when this happened to Michael Jackson, he was at the peak of his fame with Thriller, and he always had his childhood was riddled with insecurities. He had a skin condition when he was a kid, which he talked about on
Instantly,
Oprah.
no one doubts that his father was an abusive
His
parent.
father called him ugly. Why do you think he had all this
So
plastic
he was
surgery?
emotionally as well as physically
Of course.
abusive.
So to have this happen to him at that point was devastating, I'm sure, and that's probably why he didn't come forward sooner.
Okay, let's run that clip from the Joan Rivers show of LaToya Jackson. Let's hear what LaToya had to say about Michael's alleged condition.
I have never heard of a skin disorder in our family. I've seen this disease before.
Oh, I have too.
On other people, and which, you know, it's fine, but I look the other way because I'm the kind of person that I think if you look at something long enough, you may get it.
Yeah.
And I would always look the other way. And I would say, oh my God, and I'd look the other way out of embarrassment, of course, for them and then for myself as well. Like, I don't want to get this, but no, I've never known that to run in our family, no.
Just a message to Donnie, the director. What I want you to do is freeze LaToya and then put Michael in the same frame. I want to see them side by side. Yeah, because LaToya obviously is makeup. I mean, she admits it, right, Richard? I mean, she's just...
When I interviewed LaToya on my radio show, we went into this. A guy actually called up and said something very cruel. He said, well, you and Michael should get the Clorox concession or something. It was a nasty thing to say. And I called the guy on it, but the guy called, you know, said right back to me, yeah, well, let her explain it. And I said, LaToya, how do you explain this?
She's got the same exact nose, too. I mean she really is looking more and more like he is, except for her shape, her body is a little
True, but
different.
she could not explain, and even there she doesn't explain. If that's the case, we've all seen pictures of LaToya years ago, and we know that she is a different color now than she was now.
Here, we've got this ready. Take a look at that, folks. Now, either LaToya is carefully studying her brother and trying to mimic his look, or I don't know. I don't know what conclusion to draw by the fact that they do look so similar.
They could be the same person.
Oh, I heard that, too.
I've never seen them together.
You never see
And I
them
heard
together.
Elvis is alive, too. That's right. Yes.
I must say, I did watch the interview. I enjoyed it, and I believe Michael Jackson more than I do you three slime balls, as opposed to...
Based on what?
Why is he a slime?
That's an easy term to sling around. Based on
on
what?
exactly the credibility he gains from what these three people show.
Credibility. I just showed you pictures that were given to us by Michael Jackson.
From what you
Where's
say.
Michael Jackson? I haven't seen him come out and complain about our story.
Okay, from what you say, I do want to commend these three people for showing up. I think you guys should be in the front of the stage. You guys shouldn't be on the stage at all.
All right. Okay. Well, he says not to buy the Inquirer now. Michael Jackson says not to buy it. I mean, that really must hurt you.
I have seen no difference in sales.
Well, at least one subscriber out in California. Okay, let's go to folks who are really suffering from this devastating condition. Rochelle, the lady in the red and white, suffers from vitiligo. As you can see, it's caused discoloration, and I guess it's all over your body, right?
Well, it used to be about 90% of the body. Now I've taken PUVA treatments, and it's just the hands.
What are those treatments called again?
Called PUVA treatments.
PUVA. And what is that?
It's an ultraviolet treatment.
Uh-huh.
You take a medication, and it rejuvenates the pigment cells when you go inside this booth.
Okay, okay. And are you really afraid to go out of your house because people call you names?
I used to.
What do they call you?
Oh, she looks like a monster, or you were in a fire, or something's wrong with you. And, you know, just any, I mean, these are adults, not just kids.
Really? Now, Nancy, is it true that you've lost your confidence because of
Yes.
the condition?
Yes.
How has it affected you? Do you stay indoors?
I don't stay indoors because I have to work, and I use makeup as best I can, you know. And I've gotten pretty good with it because, you know, I have to...
Can Diane Rupus, our expert, put makeup on you now to show how it can happen? Diane Rupus is the national spokesperson for the Dermablend Cosmetics. They manufacture the makeup that many people use to blend their skin, as Michael apparently does, to give them a uniform appearance. Diane, do you have a microphone on?
Yes.
Oh, good. Now, you can go either way. You can make it a white or black, right?
Depending on the percentage, being that she, the largest percentage of her face is dark, you'd be better off going dark.
All right, what about David there?
Well, it would depend on his preference, too. I mean, if he prefers to go dark, that's what you do. Because you know, he still has a lot of darkness on the side, so it would be whatever he would prefer to do.
So
but you could go either way.
He could go either way. And your makeup could...
yes.
Do you have enough to go white with David here?
Sure,
Okay,
yes.
so for our first demonstration, we'll see Nancy, you know, a black woman who's going to look all black, and then we're going to... David, a black man. Do you ever get asked, David, are you white?
Sometimes, oh, you know, they ask me if they meet me in a car somewhere and they take a glance at me and they say, oh, I thought you was white. We stop at a filling station or something. And they ask me what happened to me, and I ask me that I get burnt. And sometimes I tell them, yeah, just to keep from telling them what it is.
Does anyone ever think that what you have is contagious?
Huh?
Does anyone think what you have is contagious, catching?
No, I don't. It's not.
Did you ever hear that, Rochelle? People afraid they're going to catch it from you?
Yes.
Is it catching, Dr. Sandy Milgram?
No, actually, vitiligo is a disease of the skin cells, the pigment cells, and it's not contagious at all, although there's a historic belief that it is contagious.
Here, shake my hand. I'll kiss your hand. Not contagious, see?
I think that Rochelle brought up an important point before. I mean, cosmetic cover-ups are extremely important, and people have to understand that these people do have feelings of inadequacy, of loss. They have feelings of prejudice and rejection, but that the people out there have to understand that this is a medical illness, that there are treatments available. Rochelle alluded to the most popular treatment, which is PUVA, which is taking a pill, which is an extract from celery. And ultraviolet A light. It works in 50 to 70% of people. And in fact, Rochelle's skin looked like David's before she started treatment.
Ah, really?
That's after 3 months of treatment. Now, cosmetics are extremely important, and I'm not going to minimize the importance of cosmetics. But a man like David doesn't want to get up every morning and put cosmetics on his face.
It'd be like Michael Jackson, never leave the room until he has his makeup on.
Now, if people have more than 50% of their body, there is a depigmentating agent. It's called monobenzyl ether of hydroquinone.
Is there any bleaching, real bleaching? Do people really bleach their skin?
That is the bleaching agent. And
but do people without the disease bleach their skin?
Well, it's only available through dermatologists. It's very hard to get.
Yeah, but if you have a dermatologist in your pocket.
Well, all right. But you can get it. It is a prescription medication. The only thing is it's permanent depigmentation. And it takes about a year.
Once you go white, you can't go back. It's a reversal of the other...
Exactly, and they're very prone to sunburns, and plus it's something that they...
Now, this has nothing to do with albinos, right?
No, albino, that's an inherited condition that we have...
Isn't this inherited too?
Well, it is, but with an albino, the eyes are red, the hair is white at birth, and that's a condition that's present at birth. This usually presents after birth. 25% of them are before the age of 10. 50% of people with vitiligo come on before the age of 20, and at least 95% before the age of 40.
So in Michael Jackson's case, he is in the minority in the sense that it came up pretty late.
Later in life, exactly.
Okay. All right, so Diane is working hard on Rochelle there. I mean, on Nancy, sorry. We'll see the results of what she's doing. Oh, look at that. You can see the results right now. That's amazing. Take a look. Wonderful. Nicely done. We'll be right back. We're going to have David try it. He's going to go the other way. David's going to go white. Diane's working with David right now, but let's see a closer look of her great success with Nancy. Here was Nancy. Let's see Nancy before. Let's flash that on the screen. Here's Nancy before. Now let's go to Nancy now. Isn't that amazing? How do you like the way you look?
I like it.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
You hardly notice, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now she's working with David, going the other way with David. You know, I didn't know, Diane, that you actually suffer from vitiligo as well, right?
I do. It started about 18 years ago on my face, progressed to my hands, my knees, my feet. Mine's been a gradual progression, fairly slow, but my face is about 50%. And being Caucasian, it's not as noticeable, but still the psychological effect is the same. I mean, it really does affect you, especially in the summertime. Although I try to stay out of the sun, my normal skin darkens and the contrast is much more apparent. So, And I don't answer my door without my makeup on. I won't see anybody but immediate family members without my makeup on.
Now, we have some people from the Vitiligo Foundation, is it? Okay, now, you want to say something to Michael Jackson, who's maybe watching? Yes.
Yeah, we would love you to be a spokesperson for us, and we have been looking for somebody for years who would step forward with a big name, and we need money for research. And makeup covers this. However, you wash your face at night, and the pain that people feel when they're in our support group is devastating, and we want to end this and help the people who have it now and prevent people from having it in the future.
Okay, great. And we're going to flash an address later in the program for people who want to get involved in this. Now, what's your name?
Sean.
You're Sean? Now, it's just starting on you, Sean?
Yes.
How old are you now?
It's 18.
You're 18 years old? Let's see.
Just towards my face.
Oh, look at this. Can you see this? Freddie, can you get this shot? It's just now starting. When did you notice that?
Just like recently, and I haven't really paid any attention to it up until like as of this past summer. And when I went to the doctor, then they told me something about iced tea that would help soothe the like when just it would just be
You put iced tea on yourself?
No, just drink it and it will just...
Drink the iced tea?
Yeah.
What doctor was this? don't give his or her name. I don't want to bring business. But Dr. Milgram, just starting with this youngster.
Yeah, it's very common for vitiligo to start on the fingertips, often around the mouth, in the groin area, around the eyes. And the problem is with repigmentation, as Rochelle had done, those areas don't have hair follicles. So that's normally where the pigment cells come from. So that's the most difficult area to treat. As for tea, there's no evidence of drinking tea, although there are topical stains, but they're not as good as these different cosmetic cover-ups.
Hi, I wanted to know more about the treatment that she's getting with the ultraviolet, because I heard that melanin gets stronger in the sun, so I would think that for you it would just be a lot more sun. Is that good, Doc?
Yeah, the truth is that the sun has this special tanning ray, ultraviolet A. That's why it's called PUVA. Sorolin is a word that starts with P, but it's pronounced with an S. Sorolin and ultraviolet A, and it comes from the sun. If you take these sorolins, it sensitizes your skin to the ultraviolet A light, and it makes it much more likely for you to respond. There are pills that you can take and go out in the sun. They don't work as well as if you had the treatments in your doctor's office, as Rochelle. Not only that, but in children, we use topical paint, where we paint the sorolins on the skin.
Wow. Excuse me. Yes. Let me get this lady in the corner there. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to know what the treatments cost, and does insurance cover them?
Oh, now that's a good question. Now, which one of you ran out of insurance, Rochelle? Was it you?
They dropped my insurance. They,
And does anyone here disagree with President Clinton wanting to reform the national health system? I mean, they dropped her. They only want to insure healthy people.
Well, initially, I was taking the treatment. They covered it for about a year. The color came back. It was all around my eyes. There's a picture on that. And it came back, and everything is going fine. My social life, everything is picking up. I'm feeling a little bit better. And this around my nose is new. That's what's just come back.
So is that scary to you?
Yeah, because they wrote me a letter saying that it's not medically necessary to treat it any longer.
It's not medically necessary. Unless they had it, then it would be medically necessary. Diane's working with David in the corner. She's going the other way with David, making David's skin uniformly white. We'll check in with Diane, see her progress, talk more with our guests, and we'll talk more to our three journalists about the other aspects of Michael Jackson's intriguing and fascinating life. So stay tuned. For you, Michael Jackson's doctor, right? Michael, please, Mike Jacobs, please get the letter. I want to read it to the folks. Let's check in. There's Diane, working away. I want very much to see what David's reaction is when he sees himself. Any bad vibes, Mike, Randy, or Richard, about the fact that Michael chose to go to emphasize the white side rather than the black side? Is that? Do you feel anything about that, Rochelle? Do you get any?
Well, I was just talking with her about that, and he has a lot of money. I mean, I was very depressed when everything was happening to me, and they're talking about the plastic surgery and the nose job. If I had the money and it made me happy to get my nose fixed, 17 times I would do it. And
absolutely. Hey, why not? So what do you think about Michael, just generally? Did you see the interview by any chance?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think?
I was watching it with a friend of mine, and as soon as he said that, you know, I knew it. I met a lady that told me this in November, and I told people, and I said, yeah, I did, and they didn't believe it. And my heart went out to him. I knew that's what it was, and people were talking about it. I mean, I could identify because that's what happened to me, but I don't know why he would go the other way, but people, I guess he didn't think that he could be cured, but I was just telling her I don't know what
Telling one of the ladies from the Vitiligo Foundation? Yeah?
Yes, I don't know what people believe. I'm a Christian, and I believe that, I believe in miracles. And it's a miracle because I took the same treatments before, and all I did was burn my skin and nothing. It took 2 months, and my color came back. But you have to change your whole frame of thinking. You have to change your whole mind.
This is from Arnold William Klein, MD. He's in Beverly Hills, dated February 12th. Michael Jackson was diagnosed with vitiligo in 1986. It affects at least 1% of the population, and in at least 25 to 30% of the cases, a family history is present. It is not contagious and is a result of the loss of pigment-producing cells of the skin. Mr. Jackson has requested I make this statement. Comments, Dr. Milgrom?
Well, I don't doubt it at all that he has vitiligo, and I think it shows a very courageous thing. I mean, the only reason I could see, you know, I mean, I think it's a little outlandish or outrageous to suggest that slumping record sales, how much money this fella has, to go and bare your soul on national TV. I mean, I just don't see what other reason this chap would have for it. And if people understood the utter devastation that people, especially dark-skinned people, have with vitiligo, you can't imagine that the guy would do it for this reason. What would he gain out of it? I just don't see it.
I really feel that Michael's at a stage in his life now where he just wants to explain himself, and
you don't think there's a commercial motivation?
You know, this man has so much money, as the doctor was saying. I mean, I don't really think...
But the record sales were languishing.
You yourself just said he's a ruthless businessman, and he is. And that's very important to him. That's how he asserts himself. He has such a bad problem in personal relationships. He always asserts himself through business. You know that. And I think it's part of that. I also think, this is just my own take on it, is that once he started with it, Oprah just drew it out of him, and he just suddenly said it.
Yeah, I'm sure
and I think it made him feel good.
Planning.
Catharsis.
I'm sure he didn't plan on bringing up Brooke Shields. I'm sure he didn't plan on bringing up a lot of stuff. But I mean, once you agree to do an interview, that's the exciting thing about watching it.
You know, he knew she was going to ask. I mean, you couldn't have an interview. They agreed not to ask about the sex life, but I mean, she couldn't just sit there and interview a man who looks white, who was a black man, who we all saw him as a black man, become virtually white.
He denied that he used the white kid in the Pepsi commercial as a double. Is that true or false? Not a double, you know, him as a kid.
No, that's absolutely false. I mean, we ran a picture of the kid. I mean, that was the kid who was hired. And what they did was, this is a kid who won Michael Jackson lookalike contests in Australia, was brought to this country by Michael. Michael put him in the commercial. They hired what they call a matte artist, you know what that is, for $2,000 a day, to sort of superimpose a little bit of Michael's features on this little white kid. And I don't think it was because, and I never printed that. I remember when that story came out that, well, he hired a white kid to look like, you know, because he wanted to look like a white kid when he was little. I never believed that. I think it's because this kid could move and dance like him, and he was the best. And plus, he was a protege of Michael's. And Michael just darkened him up a little through the magic of television.
You know, in retrospect now, when you think of all those Michael Jackson stories about bleaching skin and wanting to be white and everything, should we, here, Freddie, get a shot of the guy with the blue and green stripes again? In the second row. Should we be embarrassed, as this gentleman suggested, for hounding a guy who was only reacting to a devastating, emotionally malignant, in the emotional sense, disease?
Well, you know,
a guy who is just who just had a disease.
I felt ashamed for some things in my life, but I never have hounded Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson gave us all these pictures, these stories. He wanted to become a public image. You know well, Geraldo, I've said it in the show a million times, when you decide to become a public image and have millions of people around the world admiring you, you give up something, you trade something. And when you, as a black man, appear as a white man, people are simply going to ask questions.
And you know, nobody forced him to get a chimpanzee and a llama and a baby giraffe and the snakes, and, you know, I mean, he leads a strange life. Nobody was forcing him to build a Ferris wheel and an amusement park on his lawn.
And, you know, I mean, I let the gentleman's comment slide because I'm sure he hadn't read my book. But
Michael Jackson, the music and the madness, that one?
I've been studying Michael Jackson for 20 years. I mean, I've been working this beat for a very, very long time. And my purpose is to try to explain Michael in as compassionate a way as I can, which I think we did with the book when we published it 2 years ago, and I was here on your show for that. You know, so we're basically trying to explain and answer the questions that people have about this man.
You know, I'm not going to ascribe any noble motives. You know, the National Enquirer, like any other newspaper or any television show, is in business to make money. Don't let anybody kid you. But
this show is not. Oh, I'm sorry.
But on the other hand, again, these people put themselves out there, and it's only fair, you know, you all want to know about them. You buy the books, you buy the newspapers. If you stop doing it.
In the meantime, David is having an incredible makeover. We will check in with Diane Rupus, who represents the Dermablend Cosmetics Company, in just a minute or so. Stay tuned. The real Michael Jackson syndrome, our focus today. For further information, and if you want to help out, there is the National Vitiligo Foundation address, the Texas American Bank Building, Post Office Box 6337, Tyler, Texas, 75711. Now, could you stand up, sir? You have it as well? Come on, stand up. Can you get a tight shot? So, is it worse in the summer when you tan?
Yes.
And you know, how do you deal with it? Do you ever wear makeup?
No. I don't use never makeup.
Do people come to you and ask you what is wrong with your chin or anything like, you know?
Yes. In my country, I have.
And which is your country?
Poland.
Oh, in Poland, In your country, people, do they ever make fun?
Yes, make fun, ask me what is wrong with you.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's a lot of questions.
Well, around here, we're all friends. Right?
Actually, Geraldo?
Yes, Doctor.
We brought Peter into the country. I received a letter from his family about a year and a half ago, and there's no PUVA treatment available in Poland. So we petitioned the federal government. We brought him in. 90% of his body was involved. And now he just has a little bit left around his face area. But he's been coming to East Brunswick, New Jersey now for what, about 9 months?
That's where your office is?
East Brunswick, New Jersey. And you can see the tremendous improvement.
Now, you have it, and your little baby boy does too?
No, my baby boy doesn't have it right now, but I'm really concerned about him getting it through heredity. I'm very concerned. I've endured this for 30
What about heredity?
Well, 30% of people do have it, and we'll give a family history of having vitiligo in the family. If you do notice it, it's very important to start treating it at an early age.
Okay.
We do treat it with topical cortisones at that time.
All right, I don't want to give away the surprise yet. David is next. Stay tuned.
And then this was my...
Randy Tarabelli's bestseller, Michael Jackson, The Magic and the Madness, still available in paperback. Randy also wrote the very controversial bestseller, Call Her Miss Ross. Remember that one? Drum roll, maestro. Drum roll. You have one? No? All right, make believe. Brrr. Thank you, Mike. David. There he is, the old days, and here he is today. Now, I know you're a macho man there, but what about doing? Now look at the monitor. You see how different it is? What about doing that? Would you do it ever? Does it matter enough to you?
No, I wouldn't do that.
You just wouldn't go for it. Now your wife loves you, right?
She likes me just like I am.
And your kids love you. We love you, too. We love you, too. And, you know, one thing that has to be pointed out now, especially in the case of Rochelle and Nancy, they usually never, ever, ever go out without their makeup, without covering up the condition. And for them to have the courage to come here and to kind of be put on display, I think, is quite extraordinary. You know, Diane Rupus, now, I don't want to do a commercial for your product, but it looked pretty effective. Now, where do people get Dermablend?
It's available in major department stores throughout the United States. It's available.
This is not an endorsement, upside down, but you know, I just look at Nancy, and it's certainly.
They have a cover for the face. They also have a leg and body makeup. So wherever it is on the body, it can be concealed, and it's extremely okay.
Is this expensive?
No, that's $12.
Do you have something for every member of our studio audience? Is that true?
We have something for everybody today. Yes.
Wow, isn't that nice? Wait. One very important. I noticed my hair is starting to turn gray. My hair. You have anything for that?
I just asked a crucial question of one of the representatives from this company, and I asked the question. I guess nobody saw it to ask. Does Michael buy this stuff from you? And it's that lady there, the familiar lady.
Hi, public relations lady.
And she gave a guilty start, and then she said, in the manner of PR people in time immemorial, I don't know.
Oh, they're so sharp, those PR types. You know, what will be Michael's next turn in the road, Randy?
I think he's going to drop out now for about a year and let some of this die out and level off. He's doing the. I think he should do a Christmas album. To tell you the truth, I think it would be a great classical effort. I'd like to see him cut his hair. I'd like to see him wear some suits. I'd like to see a different Michael Jackson.
I was at the Super Bowl with my 13-year-old son. I'd like to see him stop holding his crotch for at least one whole song. We'll be right back.
Next on Channel $5 to Geraldo Transcripts, care of Burrell's, P.O. Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. Or call 1-800-777-TEXT. Promotional fees have been provided by...
For cleaning, shining, and disinfecting.
The National Vitiligo Foundation, the Texas American Bank Building, Post Office Box 6337 in Tyler, Texas. 75711. My lucky number is 711. I was married on 7/11. My daughter was born on 11/7. My lucky numbers. So, Mike, you got anything on Michael Jackson in next week's?
Yeah, the follow-up is I discovered that he actually tried to buy that hyperbaric chamber from the company that builds it, Seacrest Industries. And number two, I guess this thing really intrigued him because he hired a magician to build him an exact replica. Now, it didn't have the oxygen, but it had such high-tech options as a telephone, VCR, CD player, and a VCR in it. And he actually took it out on the road, and what it was going to be, he called it King Tut's Tomb. It was going to be some kind of spectacular stage illusion. But the thing was junked, and he never used it.
Randy, next book?
I'm doing Roseanne Arnold right now.
Wow. Yeah. I bet Tom's looking for you. But separate stories. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good luck, and thank the Dermablend people. And thank the people from the Vitiligo Foundation. And thank you folks at home for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.